Holy smokes. How great a world we live in right now, where one dude with the name of Billy Basso, who I'm assuming, if that's a real name, that's crazy. The guy that, there's one single dude made this, and apparently his name is Billy Basso. Unless he's using like a moniker, which I don't know, maybe he is. I guess I could have Googled that, but I didn't, and I just started making a video anyway. But one guy who has such a, clearly this dude had a vision. He has a work ethic. His brain is gigantic. And, you know, he's not stuck like, I mean, I don't know what the hell, like breeding horses for their carts back in 1850 or whatever. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, this dude gets to make a video game this good and gets funded by it by, you know, one of the funniest YouTubers in video game YouTube, period. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's just, what a delight this is that it exists. So, you know, clearly I think that if you haven't figured it out yet, either by the first minute of me rambling here, or by every other review I've seen, Animal Well is worth playing. And it's worth playing even if this genre isn't your bag or your jam. And to use jam as an example, this is the kind of game that's so good that it could hook you on the entire genre itself. You know what I'm saying? Like, if maybe I don't like, I don't know. Let's say I don't like blackberries, but somebody's like, dude, but you've got to try this blackberry jam. It could unlock the whole world of blackberries for you. That's a terrible metaphor. But I think you see what I'm trying to say here, where this is a piece of art. This is a thing that's so well done in all the ways a thing can be well done that it could sell you on an entirely new world of games. And I also think that's the case, first of all, because I'm not a big platformer or Metroidvania guy in the first place. I played Hollow Knight, and that probably was the thing that actually introduced me and sold me on Metroidvanias. But, you know, I still haven't played that many of them. And it's just so, it's so good that it can be the thing that opens up the door to a whole lot of other really cool things. And even if all you do is play Call of Duty, you know what I'm saying? Like, I really think this is such a great first step into something like this. Because Billy Basso, in every way, it's almost like he'll meet you where you are. And him and Dunkey have talked about this, and I'll get into the first sort of category of why this is so good, or first category of real thing now, which is looking at the game design as a whole. And they've talked about this in a couple interviews where they describe, Billy has said, like, this game is kind of like an onion or a lasagna where there's layers to it. And the first layer is like the main campaign, right? And that only took me like 5 or 6 hours, which, quick sub note, another point for how nice this is that, you know, I'm a dad, I have 2 young kids, I work 200 hours a week, or so the Reddit meme would say, which that doesn't communicate well to a YouTube video, right? Like, what am I talking about? What I mean to say is, when I sit down to play a game, I only maybe have an hour at night. And maybe, let's say, in an entire week, to play a solo game, I've got 5 hours, right? I can't have even one of those 5 hours kind of suck, because it just hurts. It hurts so bad with where I am in life to waste even 1/5 of that time. And I feel like this genre in particular, and I'm glad you can see the map right now as I talk, because if I got too lost and too confused, I wouldn't have finished the game, like, period. I don't have the time or energy, and literally my brain has melted since I've had kids. Like, I do not have the IQ points either to figure it out. But Billy Basso has somehow held your hand just enough to finish the main game and made it just difficult enough to where you're not ever, like, lost and rambling and frustrated, which is so, I think would have been so easy to do for somebody less talented, or who didn't spend enough time really testing the pacing and difficulty. But, so all of that is in points to, if you're maybe someone either new to the genre, or like me, you don't have a ton of time. But what's so wild about Animal Well is that it completely fits the bill for the complete other end of the spectrum. I'm talking, if you are a turbo nerd with platformers and Metrovanias, And if you are a turbo nerd around 100%ing things, like this game is also somehow even more for you. And I mean that as best I can. Like, as much as I think this is a great introduction to the genre, it is almost impossibly also the best, maybe ever, of an enriching post-game layered experience where there's like so much to uncover. It's crazy, dog, how much there is to uncover about this game post the main campaign. So, and one thing I mean by that is collectibles, which I've never gotten into. Once in my life have I ever collected all the little trophies. That's just not my jam. But this is maybe the first game where I've kind of wished I could get into that or had the time to, because you are rewarded for that like in a big, big, big way. And that's all I'll say on that, because I don't want to spoil anything, and also because there's a bajillion YouTube videos out there that go into detail, but now spoilers, I will say, into how flippin' awesome the post-game content is. And by that I mean if you're into like finding all the collectibles unlocks a whole nother little like part of the game, and then that part of the game unlocks another part of the game kind of thing. It's so cool. It's so rad. It reminds me of Inscription, using that ARG experience, which I find fascinating and awesome, even though I've never gotten to do one. Again, partly because I don't have time and partly because my brain is not big enough. Okay, but this kind of leads into what I would say is maybe honestly, the only con I can think of here, which is I would have would I have flipped my lid if this enriching post-game layered thing going on here, again, which is that there's a whole lot more here than meets the eye to this game, and you get out what you put in kind of thing, is if they could have, to me, done more of a narrative with that, meaning you're getting more of a narrative uncovered as well when you're finding things in that, both during the game and post-game. I mean, it would have, that's the one way I could improve it. Now, that's coming from someone who I both adore the way Dark Souls does their storytelling, which is like way heavy on the environment side. But again, to me, who's doesn't have enough time and brain is too smooth, like it's too much. Like I have to go watch the Vatividya guy, or the YouTubers who explain Dark Souls, and then even then I like forget most of it. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's such a shame, because the Dark Souls lore is clearly so flippin' sick. And I feel like with a game like Animal Well, if Billy Basso could figure out like I appreciate how he didn't have any dialogue. Like there's no dialogue in the game. I think there's like literally one thing of dialogue maybe that we know of. And it's like, oh God, though, how sick would it have been if there's a more narrative drip fed more clearly. But that's almost a taste thing, because I think there's a huge number of people who love the fact that this is purely environmental storytelling. And I can get behind that again, but yeah. And I really do think that's the only con, wildly enough, that I can think of. To put this another way, and to talk about another part of the game, the items are a blast to use. So in this genre, you uncover new items that unlock new parts of the map, or I should say, old parts of the map start to be unlocked by the item. You know what I mean? And I don't even think I probably only uncovered like half of the possible items you can. But all of them were a delight. They felt good to use. And I'll talk about the puzzles as well in this right now, where like both the items and the puzzles, I should say the puzzles and the items that you use to solve them, they felt good. And I mean like tactically, like the coding itself, the way it felt to use it, like was tight and controlled. But also the puzzles themselves were really solid. They were like just the right degree of difficulty for me, where, it took some thought and it took some iterations, but it wasn't so hard that I was pissed off. And I mean that both by figuring out the puzzle and also being able to actually do it with my fingers. You know what I'm saying? Like all of them felt paced right to me. I don't think there was a single puzzle or platforming challenge that like pissed me off to the point where I was frustrated with the developer. You know what I mean? Where it's like, okay, this is either over the top or this is like, they didn't tune this right. It's like I could respect all of the difficulty. And that's not the same way, even like for Hollow Knight. Like there's that one section of freaking Hollow Knight that people do where it's like, there's like buzz chainsaws in every single little pixel of the map. I can't remember what it's called, but anyway, you know, there's nothing so much in this game where you're just like, okay, this is made for the top 1% of the 1%. Now there is as far as uncovering secrets, but that's a different thing than like platforming skill. Anyway, so you can put a check mark next to difficulty. You can put a check mark next to how the game tactically feels, like it just feels good to control your character, like the gravity and the physics are tweaked right. Obviously, too, like Billy Basso, I'm pretty sure this is true, created the engine this game runs on, which is Bonkers Town. And there's something to say that you can actually like feel that. Like, gosh, when you like, you'll be jumping and you hit these little fire lamp things, and the lighting of the fire lamp like goes with it, and the vines like as you hit them, and the waterfall. Even at one point, you're like watching, like the screen's mostly black, and you're watching this waterfall down, and there's something memorable here about the setting and the way that the lighting interacts with the environment. That I don't think you would, like, in other games you wouldn't necessarily notice that. But there's something about it being homogeneous and it being pixel art that makes things pop in a way that they don't in other genres. And it's even hard to put into words, I would say. Probably mostly because, as I've said, my brain is small and smooth. And what can I do? Yeah, I think the final thing worth iterating here is looking at this bubble item to wrap up how I feel about this game. So the bubble item that you get is you can use it in one way for the whole game, and you could get through the entire game, at least the main campaign that I did, and use it. It would feel good to use. It would do its job, and that's that. But since I've played a few platformers in the past, and you can tell quickly that this Billy Basso guy knows what the heck he's doing, when you blow a bubble and you jump on it, then you jump on a platform, right? But you can kind of feel like, okay, I bet old Billy Basso boy has got a little bit more going on to this bubble wand than meets the eye. And that's true. You can learn to blow a bubble, jump on it, and then kind of do them simultaneously or a little bit off kilter to be able to both jump and blow a bubble underneath you so that you can do an infinite jump. You know, it's like jump, bubble, jump, bubble, jump, bubble, right? And it's somehow exactly challenging enough as it should be. Like, it took me a good hour of practicing, or like cumulatively. I didn't just look at the screen like a ape for an hour, but you know what I'm saying? Like, probably an hour of doing it until I got it down to where I could do it every time. And in doing so, first of all, it feels good. Like, to pull that off, it feels good. You feel smart, you feel good at the game, but also it unlocks parts of the map that don't break the game somehow. Somehow it doesn't break the game, but it also, you get a rush from it, because it's like, oh, it paid off for me to do that little bit of extra thing here. And that is the game, because the game, if you will put into it, you will get out what you put in. And so, yeah, this one item is like a good metaphor symbol for the entire game structure a bit. And that, you know, just keep jumping on the bubbles is, I guess, what I'm trying to say. And if life hands you bubbles, you jump on them, and you keep jumping on them. Gosh, I'm so inspired. So what do you say when you finish one of these? You say that, yeah, clearly this is good. This art is good. Well done. And even if you buy this and don't like it, you'll be better off for having tried. Yeah, that sounds nice. Even if you try it and don't like it, you're better off having tried this. Same thing with food. You know what I mean? Like, I keep thinking about it. Like, like, I don't really like Italian food, but there's this place near me. It kept getting really good reviews. And so I was like, dude, I'll try anything if it's supposed to be good enough. You know what I'm saying? And I went, and it was super rad. And I had all this stuff I hadn't had before. And some of it I didn't like, but I could respect it for what it was. And that's what I think Animal Well is. But even more so, I think Animal Well I think most people would like it. You know what I'm saying? But it's the kind of thing that is so dang well done. It invites someone to open up a open up a new subgenre of art that otherwise they wouldn't have appreciated. And I've probably repeated that point to death. I think I've said that like 6 different times in this very short amount of time. Adios.